Let me take you back, a step back to your previous answer, where you said you've seen that your colleague, Sergeant 14, was having, maybe you'll correct me if I'm wrong, where you said Sergeant 14, you saw that he was having some questions or some questioning.
Laat ek net vir u terugvat na u se vorige antwoord toe. U het gesê dat u het gesien u kollega Sergeant Fortuin het klibbel gehad waarvan weer is vrae en antwoorde.
Ek het gesien hy skryf, ek het nie sien wat as lees nie.
I saw that he was writing down, but I did not read what he was writing.
Are you suggesting that your colleague might be having the questions that were put to my client and the answers that he gave back to you?
Sê u dit nou dat u het gesien u kollega neergeskryf en die antwoorde wat my kliënt gesê het en teruggegee het u?
Ek het aanvaar dat is wat hy neergeskryf het.
I took that that is what he was writing down.
You didn't write anything down?
U het niks neergeskryf nie.
Nee, laat.
No, my lord.
Can you advance the reasons why you didn't write the questions you put to my client and the answers he gave to you?
Kan u dan vir ons advies of vir ons u kan sê dat hoekom ek nie meer die vrae neergeskryf en antwoorde neergeskryf wat my kliënt gevra het en die antwoorde daarvoor?
Die vrae wat ek aan hulle gestel het was spesifieke vrae en dit was minimaal.
The questions that I put to them were specific questions and were minimal.
That was not my question.
Dit was nie my vraag, meneer.
My question is clear. Can you advance before this court the reasons why you didn't write down the questions you put to my client and you didn't write down the answers he gave to you, to your questions?
Kan u vir ons sê hoekom het u die vraag nie neergeskryf en die antwoorde wat die kliënt vir u gegee het? Rede hoekom?
Ek het tussen die kantore beweging, soos ek gesê het, dat Sergeant Fortuin was die leier interviewer.
As I said that I was moving in between, and I also said before that Sergeant Fortuin was the lead interviewer.
Without those questions and answers not being presented before this court, which guarantee this court will have confirming that indeed this alleged interview took place?
Sonder daardie vraag of die tyd wat die onderhoud gedoen was nie, wat garantie het ons dat daardie onderhoud regtig gebeur?
Daar is geen rede om eens te vertel dat die vraag nie aan hom gestel gewees het.
There's no reason to lie to say that the questions were answered from him if the question was answered from him or to him.
So that we don't waste court's time, Mr. Lombard. Listen to my questions and answer my question.
Nie om die tyd sit aan die hoogste tyd te mors in die Lombard kan u die vraag luister en vraag antwoord.
My question is,
my vraag is,
now that you don't have the original interview will be the question from the interviewers and the answer from my client. You don't have that before the court. Now that you don't have that, which guarantee this court will have to prove that indeed the alleged interview took place?
Want ons het nou nie die oorspronklike onderhoud, maar die vraag was neergeskryf, die persoon het geantwoord. Hoe sal dit nou weet regte waar daardie onderhoud het gebeur, want ons het mos nou nie daai dokument hier voor ons nie.
My woord is dat die onderhoude het plaasgevind.
My lords, my words are that the interview took place.
Die vraag wat ek ingelig gewees het met wat hulle gesê het,
The question they said and what they said,
het ek aan hulle gestel te kom
I told them when I got to them,
en dit is melding gemaak in my verklaring.
and it is mentioned in my statement.
Did Sergeant Fortuin file an interview seeing that Sergeant Fortuin is a male or is a female?
Sergeant Fortuin, a feminist of a man's name.
Sy mans persoon.
It's a male.
Now that he didn't file any affidavit pertaining let me rephrase my question. Why Sergeant Fortuin, if he's the one who played a major role in interviewing my client, why it is you who filed an affidavit pertaining to the interview, not him?
Hoekom is Sergeant Fortuin nie 'n verklaring gemaak nie, want deze persoon wat 'n rol, 'n groter of die leier gewees van die onderhoud, maar u het dan 'n verklaring gegee.
Dit is reg dat Sergeant Fortuin nie 'n verklaring gemaak het nie.
It's correct that Sergeant Fortuin didn't make or give a statement regarding the interview.
Nadat ek die vrae aan hulle gestel het,
After I've asked the questions from them,
en hulle bevestig aan my
they confirmed to me
met hulle antwoorde
with their answers,
en op dit het ek die verklaring ingesit.
and on that I made a statement.
Let me focus on Stevie Noise, Mr. Van Rijn. What are the specific...
One thing about Miss Mkabai is she did not come to play, okay? She is the defense representation of accused number 2. And the challenge that I have is that the police, I'm not saying that he did anything wrong, that is for the judge to tell us at the end of all this. But we listen, we don't judge. But from where I'm sitting, it looks like the police took shortcuts. This is the lead investigator, Mr. Wesley Lombard, and Detective, my apologies, Detective Wesley Lombard, and he might have taken some shortcuts, aka he didn't write anything down. He didn't write anything down during the interview. Instead, it was his partner who wrote everything down, but then his partner didn't write the affidavit, and then he is the one who wrote the statement, and Miss Mkabai says, oh no, we're not going to accept that. And my challenge with this is how, if Stefano is guilty of anything to do with Jocelyn, how he might walk scot-free because of a technicality. And I think that the police, this was of course a highly sensationalized case at the time. They might have been under a lot of pressure. We see that as well. They had Gayton McKenzie, at their corner. So they might have taken a few shortcuts. They might have needed Gayton McKenzie to back off. So they could, clear Ayanda according to Gayton McKenzie's accounts. Again, this is all going to be put in front of a court, and the court is going to determine all this, the accuracy of it all. So I'm not taking any sides. I'm not saying anyone is wrong or right. I'm just saying that it is unfortunate that it feels like the South African police services took shortcuts, and here we are. Mkabai is putting forward good arguments, and we see Detective Lombard struggling to answer. But one thing about him, he's very good at minimal answers. He's not like Rance. Look at Miss Interpreter. She does not have to touch him at all on the shoulder to pause so she can to interpret. Actually, I had to look up the difference between translate and interpreter, because I'm like, are those words interchangeable? And I discovered interpreter is when it's the spoken, but translator, you're translating from one language to another in a written form. We learn something every day, right? But yeah, so he just gives yes, no answers, short sentences, whereas we saw with Rance, she wants to give parables, okay? She wants to go on and on and on and on. And that is when you get caught up in a lie or you give extra evidence. We saw the judge say he's not going to accept any new evidence in cross-examination when Rance was now going into a whole other tangent, and the judge was like, nope, we're not doing that in re-examination. But yeah, so I just wanted to add that feedback, but let's continue listening on, because Miss Mkabai is applying pressure on the detective's neck, and she is not letting go. So technically, from a defense standpoint, I would say she's representing her client. She's representing her client, and she's doing the work. Unfortunately, cameraman is not moving or showing us Stefano. It would have been interesting to see his facial expressions. Is he laughing? What exactly is going on in the mind of accused number 2? Let's continue listening on.
What are the specific questions that you put to my client?
Laat ek nou my konsentreer op Stefano my kliënt. Wat is hierdie vraag of wat u hom gevra het?
Soos nadat ek nou gelig het dat Stefano hulle gesê het dat die polisie moet verklaar vir die verdwijning van Jocelyn.
Also, when we found that Stefano them say that the police or Kelly must have asked about the disappearance of Jocelyn.
Toe ek opgegaan die seebode kantoor het,
I went to the sea border offices.
het ek daai vraag
Just a minute. That is not the question. I don't want to hear what you did. My question is clear. What are the questions that you put to my client?
Ek wil hoor wat u gedoen het. Ek vra vir u, wat is die vraag wat u my kliënt gevra het?
Just one moment. Let the witness first answer the question, and then I'll deal with any objection. It might be that the objection will not be necessary. So let's let the witness answer. What the question is, what are the questions that you pose to Mr. Van Rijn?
Ek het aan Mr. Van Rijn genoem dat ek verstaan, hy het genoem dat ons moet verklaar die vraag oor die verdwijning van Jocelyn.
I said to Mr. Van Grendel, I understand here that we have to ask Kelly about the disappearance of Jocelyn.
And did he respond to that?
Het hy geantwoord aan dit?
Hy het tot 'n maand gesê dan ja, hy het geantwoord dan hy wou nie eintlik sê hoekom ons ook Janie moet vra nie en hy kon geen rede gee spesifiek hoekom ons ook Janie moet vra behalwe dat hy gesê het dat ons ook Janie vra nie.
My lord, he said he didn't want to give a reason or as why we have to ask Kelly, besides saying that we have to ask Kelly about the disappearance of JOSHLIN.
Thank you. Ms. Swanepoel, do you still have an objection? It's covered. Thank you.
Thank you, my lord. Was this the only question you put to my client?
Is dit die enige vraag wat een my kliënt gevra het of gestel het?
Later daaraan was ek ingelig dat hulle die persoon Makalima genoem het.
Later in the evening, I was informed about this person called Makalima.
En dat Makalima ons kan help, heel moontlik kan help om vir JOSHLIN te vind.
Kan u weer herhaal asseblief?
En dat Makalima oor inligting besit wat vir ons heel moontlik kan help waar JOSHLIN is.
I was later in the evening, my lord. We were informed about this person called Makalima that might have information as to where JOSHLIN is.
Ek het daai vraag ook aan Stefano gevra
I also asked Stefano about that,
en sy antwoord het dieselfde gebly.
and his answer remained the same.
Daar was 'n vraag gewees of hy weet wat JOSHLIN is.
And there was also a question posed to him that does he know where JOSHLIN is?
En
Okay, sorry, Captain. What was the same question?
Let the witness first finish and then we can follow up. Let the witness give his explanation. There was also a question about whether he knows where JOSHLIN was.
There was ook 'n vraag om hom te gevra was weet hy waar JOSHLIN is.
hy het geantwoord dat hy nie weet nie.
He answered by saying he does not know.
Thank you, Ms. Nkabai.
There is a question, Mr. Lombard, where you said my client gave the same answer. I wanted to know that exact answer that he gave.
Dit is een wat u gesê het my kliënt het dieselfde antwoord gegee. Ek wil net weet wat is daar dieselfde antwoord na die Lombard.
Die vraag was gewees oor Makalima
The question was about Makalima
en of sy hy seker is dat Makalima inligting het wat vir ons kan help om JOSHLIN te vind.
and is he sure that Makalima has information as to where we can find JOSHLIN?
En hy het geantwoord dat Makalima sal ons kan help.
And he answered by saying that Makalima will be able to assist us or help us.
En volgens hom het sy inligting gehad waar JOSHLIN heel moontlik kan wees.
According to him, he had possible information as to where JOSHLIN can be. She can be.
But all these questions and answers don't appear in your evidence in chief.
Can you please repeat
You
that?
didn't mention this line of questioning in your evidence in chief.
En u se getuienis in hoof, u het nie van hierdie genoem nie, die tydens wat die aanklaer vir u gevra het.
Lag maar net dit genoem van ek het die vraag konteks gesit dat ek het gevra oor die persoon Makalima.
My lord, I did mention that because I made it in the context that I was asking about the person called Makalima.
En dat hy 'n melding gemaak het dat sy met moontlike inligting sit wat ons kan help om JOSHLIN te vind.
And he also mentioned that she possibly has information as to where JOSHLIN can be found.
In your evidence in chief, you mentioned that, and open quotes, we made it clear to Stevino that Buddha and Kelly are not protecting him, close quotes.
Ons het duidelik gemaak dat Kelly en Buddha verdedig nie vir hom nie, of beskerm nie vir hom nie.
Why did you say this?
Hoekom het u dit gesê?
Dit was 'n onderhoudsstrategie.
It was our interview strategy.
And what was his comment or response on this statement?
Wat was sy kommentaar geweest hoe het hy gereageer op daardie wat u gesê het?
Sover ek kan onthou dat ek nie enigiets gesê nie,
As far as I can remember, I don't think that he said anything,
maar dat ek wel geluister het.
but he listened.
Just one moment, Ms. Nkabai. What do you mean by it was an interview strategy?
Wat bedoel u as u sê dit was die onderhoudsstrategie geweest?
En lag maar gewoonlik met onderhoude as daar 'n strategie wat ons self opkom om vra om die persoon te benader.
My lord, usually in interview, there's a strategy whereby we ask questions as to how to come close or get some information from someone.
En by daai tyd het ons geweet dat Boeta en Kelly
By that time, we knew that Buddha and Kelly
het 'n nouwe verhouding en dat hulle twee net oor mekaar gesels.
that they have had a relationship and they were just talking about each other.
En dat Kelly die gewoonte het en Boeta self dat hulle net mekaar beskerm.
And that Kelly and Buddha had this norm of protecting each other.
Thank you, Ms. Nkaba.
Thank you, my lord. Was the statement true?
Was is de verklaring waar?
Dis waar.
It's true.
When I look at your statement,
As ek aan eerste verklaring kyk,
my understanding of it might be wrong. You correct me if I'm wrong.
soos ek dit verstaan, miskien ek kon verkeerd wees, ek kan vir my regs help.
You were instilling fear to my child.
In ander woorde, jy het my kliënt bang gemaak.
Can you dispute that?
Kan jy dit ontken?
Dis onwaar.
Untrue.
Number two, when I look at this statement, I see that you were enticing him to implicate Mr. Akolis and Ms. Smith.
Soos as ek so dit kyk, ek het soos evil gehad het, hy moet die ander mense ook implementeer op hierdie ding.
Dit is onwaar.
It's untrue.
Let me go back to what you said, that this was your strategy.
Dat
Did
ek
your
nou,
strategy work?
dat ek nou terug aan waar Eva sê, dit was eerste strategie geweest. Het eerste strategie gewerk.
Volgens my ja.
According to you, yes.